you. I'm just kidding.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, sir. All right. Good evening. Welcome to the January 9th, 2024 meeting of the Oshkosh Common Council. If the city clerk could please take the roll.
Mughawar.
Here?
I'm sorry, I'm going out of order. But
That's all right.
Just,
Put us on our toes. That's good.
We'll just go to Hayes.
Present.
Esslinger.
Here.
Erickson.
Here.
Ford is absent excused. Stevenson.
Here.
Bulow.
Here.
6 present.
Thank you. Councilmember Buell will lead us in the invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. I actually didn't pull up the invocation. Sorry. Do you have a copy? Here.
Oh, did
Thank
they give
you.
you one?
Oh, it's not on there.
Is it in? I'm sorry. Cammie usually puts it in your.
I might have it.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
This is awkward.
Didn't see it in my package.
Please hold.
Well, I'm okay proceeding with the Pledge of Allegiance, unless somebody's got one.
I have an old one, I think, hanging around.
All right. Well, there you go.
Thank you. We ask for guidance tonight as we begin this meeting. May all those who participate in our discussions and our decisions reflect the values we cherish in this great city. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilmember Stevenson, for coming to the rescue there. Yeah. First up is citizen statements to the council. I have no one registered for this space, so we can move right to consent agenda. I do have Ms. Cryan is here to speak to Resolution 24-01. We're going to pull that. I'll take a motion and a second for the rest so we can discuss if needed.
Move it.
Second.
Any discussion on any of the remaining items? Seeing none, if you'll take the roll on consent minus 24-01.
Excuse me, Mayor. I can't hear what you're talking about. I can't hear it at all.
Okay, you're going to be up next, okay?
I'm sorry?
You'll be up next.
I can't hear what you're saying.
You'll be up next to speak.
Okay, but am I missing anything that I'm not missing? Okay, fine. Thank you.
Please take the roll on consent minus 24-01.
Sure. Bulow.
Aye.
Hayes.
Aye.
Esslinger.
Aye.
Erickson.
Aye.
Stevenson.
Aye.
Mughawar.
Aye.
Carried 6.
So resolution 24-01, Ms. Jane Cryan, if you'd like to come up.
Okay, thank you.
Reminder, 5 minutes. I know we spoke. You may go a little over.
I may go over 1 or 2 minutes, and I hope after 6 years of pain and sorrow with this thing that you're going to let me have an additional minute or 2.
You can have an additional minute. We've extended that
I
courtesy.
can't hear you.
We spoke. You can have an additional minute. Yep. Go ahead.
Okay. I want those present in chambers and viewing via live stream to know that my claim emanates from one of Oshkosh's many private nuisances. In my case, a neighbor discharging her sump hose onto my lot. My brush with private nuisance began when I was 76 years old, and my adjacent neighbor began discharging water onto my lot. City told me to get a lawyer, but because I have income that doesn't support engaging a lawyer, at the city manager's suggestion, I sent a manuscript to Mayor Council in January of 2019, asking for a code amendment regarding sump discharge. My effort in this regard met with 0 response from mayor or council. My neighbor, infuriated that I had dared ask her not to flood my lot, began verbally abusing me, and a couple of years later incited my other adjacent neighbor to join her effort to force me to sell my house and leave the neighborhood. I am now but weeks away from my 82nd birthday. Both adjacent neighbors are still verbally abusing me. The ringleader neighbor is still discharging sump water onto my lot, and neighbors I once knew as friends have shunned me. Oshkosh's police force, from the 2018 onset of my troubles, has refused to stop the verbal abuse and property damage I suffer, which, uncontrolled in 2021, resulted in one of these snubbing neighbors spraying a swastika on my front door. A friend of mine, member of the Algoma Boulevard Synagogue, sent a friend of hers, a retired police lieutenant, to meet with me regarding the swastika. He surveilled the person I know to be the swastika sprayer, and he agreed with my estimation. I turned the lieutenant's and my evidence over to OPD, which covered up the evidence. OPD, in collusion with the lieutenant, who lied and said he never surveilled my neighbor, declared that I had paranoia and recently has added dementia to my fake diagnoses, which supposedly cover up their cover-up. This has left me wide open to possible physical harm and continuing verbal abuse from my adjacent neighbors, who have been informed by OPD of my fake diagnoses and believe they can get away with anything because OPD considers me mentally impaired. This is why I filed a claim for monetary compensation. Of course, the city summoned its insurance adjuster, which has been manipulated to dismiss my claim by failing to adhere to a precedent that the insurance adjuster's decision would not be made until complaints filed with the Police Fire Commission had been processed and the PFC's opinion delivered to Mayor Council. Yesterday, I found an order to dismiss my claim dated today that was placed on the city website and was accessible via the agenda link. I have decided that after 6 years, I must now create and launch a GoFundMe to obtain money to hire a lawyer. I am simply worn to a frazzle, trying to represent myself with this and getting nowhere with the city. If anyone in these chambers or on live stream is a lawyer interested in my case, please contact me. I contacted the State Bar of Wisconsin, which told me that they do not refer lawyers to people who wish to sue a municipality or a police department. So, and what can you find on the web? You find nothing. All I get from a web search is all kinds of spam email and goofy people. If anyone in the chambers or the live stream has been or is dealing with the sump discharge issue, which the city considers a private nuisance, please contact me. Together, we can make change. I'm done.
Thank you. Council will take a motion in a second for 24-01.
Move it.
Second.
Any discussion? Councilmember Hayes.
For purposes of transparency, I am just going,
Something I should be hearing?
Yes,
Probably, yes.
I can't hear.
we're
I
speaking,
can't hear a thing.
ma'am, we're speaking quite loud and it's, you should be able
Maybe I
to.
could come and stand next to each of you as you're speaking?
No, you should stay down there. I noticed you had a hearing device. Are you able to turn it up to hear?
I have got my
Okay.
hearing aids, which are very fine hearing
Okay.
aids, cranked to the max, and I'm unable to hear.
Okay.
Acoustically, this room is a nightmare.
Okay. Ms. Hayes, the floor is yours.
for purposes of transparency, I believe it's necessary for me to inform council that I previously represented one of the neighbors that is mentioned in Ms. Cryan's complaint. I do not believe that there's a conflict that prevents me from voting this evening. However, transparency, I believe, requires me to inform of that.
Thank you. Any other discussion on this one? For those in the public wondering about this, these types of claims are routine in nature. The process that we're following is a normal process for disallowance. Upon receipt of a claim, our insurance carrier reviews it, makes a recommendation to the city municipality in concurrence with the city attorney's office. They make a recommendation to council on acceptance or disallowance of those claims. What this allows, if we pass the disallowance this evening, that allows the claimant to proceed into a legal atmosphere through the judicial system and allows for that process to unfold in an expeditious manner. So this is a normal process we're going through tonight. If there's no other comments, yeah, go right ahead, Councilman Resslinger.
Thank you, Mayor. Just one other thing I think the public needs to understand. The lady did file this claim with the insurance carrier. The insurance carrier, like insurances do, if they find fault, they pay the claim, okay? So they're saying that the city is not at fault here. That's their opinion upon review of the materials. And so the council could go against the insurance carrier, if I'm correct, Ms. Lawrenson, we can go against the insurance carrier and say it needs to be paid. However, if we do that, then the city is responsible for paying the claim, which is just shy of $500,000.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. If the city clerk will please take the roll on 24-01.
Sure. Bulow?
Aye.
Hayes?
Aye.
Esslinger?
Aye.
Erickson?
Aye.
Stevenson?
Aye.
Mughawar?
Aye.
Carried 6.
Thank you. On to new ordinances, ordinance 24-14. No anticipated action. We don't anticipate any action on this ordinance or the next one. Approve zone change from general agricultural extraterritorial district.
I don't know what you've done with my case. I have no idea what's just transpired here because I couldn't hear anybody.
Okay.
What has transpired?
Ma'am, so what we've done is we've voted to disallow the claim, which allows you to go into the court system.
I'm sorry, I cannot hear you.
Go right up to the mic.
Yeah, okay. Are you able to hear me if I speak right in here?
I'm sorry?
Can you hear me now?
Much better.
Okay, so council has voted 6-0 to disallow your claim. We did not accept it, and so what happens now is that you'll receive word from the city clerk's department.
I'll receive word from what?
The city clerk's department,
Okay.
and you can then proceed with into the court system through the normal course of action. But we did not accept the claim.
Well, I understand from what's on the website that I have a right to appeal this decision, and I have six months in which to enact that appeal. Please tell me how I should go about appealing this decision, which I will do.
If I'm,
And it may take a long time for me to get legal representation because nobody in Wisconsin wants to sue a municipality or a police department.
yes, ma'am. So what will happen is that you would need to go into the court system to adjudicate this, to proceed against the
I
city.
need to go to what
the Wisconsin Circuit Court.
The what?
Winnebago Circuit Court.
Okay.
If I'm correct, will she be receiving?
I have to spend
Wait,
money
ma'am, just 1 second, ma'am.
and
Ma-
go to the Winnebago County.
Ma'am, just 1 second.
Circuit Court
Ma'am,
to appeal the decision you just made,
1 second if you can give me a second, okay?
okay?
Please. She'll be receiving a certified copy, a certified letter from the city, correct, explaining the entire process? Or explaining,
It explains
explains
that
this.
the claim has been disallowed
Yes.
and that she may proceed to court and that she has 6 months within which to do that if she chooses.
okay.
So the city attorney will send me information guiding me into lodging this appeal.
It won't guide you, it will just it will tell you what happened tonight and tell you what your next step could be, but it won't guide you through any process. That's not our responsibility to guide you legally.
One hell of a position to leave an old lady in. I've had 6 years of this.
I understand, ma'am, but we've taken our action and we're going to move on this evening.
This is just insane.
So,
I don't know what I'm gonna have to do to get a lawyer. Nobody wants, as I've said twice now, nobody wants to sue a municipality or a police department in this state.
I understand, ma'am, we've moved on, and so you'll be receiving word from the city via certified letter, but we're moving on with the agenda for this evening. Thank you. Ordinance 24-14 approves zone change from general agricultural extraterritorial district to single-family residential extraterritorial district for a property located at 4744 County Highway K in the town of Algoma, and the extraterritorial zoning committee recommends approval. Again, no action this evening. That'll come back at the next meeting. Also, ordinance 24-15, same thing, no action this evening, approves zone change from suburban mixed-use district with a planned development overlay to an institutional district for the property located at 425 North Washburn Street, and Plan Commission recommends approval. Moving right along, resolution 24-16. This is approve city manager performance evaluation for 2023 and goals for 2024. I'll take a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
Sounds good. Discussion? Yep, Deputy Mayor Erickson's got the floor.
Thank you. So I'll part of the role of deputy mayor is kind of leading and organizing the process for the city manager's review. So I'll read through the resolution, the findings of the review, and then also the goals for next year. So city manager Mark Roloff is a highly effective leader who provides steady, calm leadership. We value his opinion and expertise, which has earned him respect throughout the city and across the state. We continue to be encouraged by his highly effective staff, the support he provides them, and the high ethical standards he holds. He is committed to carrying out the strategic plan and infusing its goals throughout the city. The Oshkosh Common Council has completed the city manager's annual review and find he has exceeded our expectations and that his performance is more than satisfactory. City Manager Roloff excels at policy execution and leadership and management of the organization. The Common Council will continue to support City Manager Roloff and staff in building relationships with groups and residents historically marginalized and underrepresented. City Manager Roloff continues to perform at a high level with genuine enthusiasm and a desire to keep Oshkosh moving forward. We look forward to supporting the City Manager Roloff to meet the established goals for 2024 that reflect our mutual desire to continue making Oshkosh better for everyone. And the 2024 city manager goals that both council and city manager Roloff have agreed to are one, with the input of council, the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Committee, and the Sustainability Advisory Board, continue infusing sustainability and DEI concepts into city policies and day-to-day operations. Goal number 2, expand the scope of addressing homelessness and the housing continuum in Oshkosh by engaging other governmental and nonprofit entities in the region to provide backbone support and effective services to reduce and prevent homelessness. Number 3, continue the city manager's leadership work on statewide initiatives to improve the state-local fiscal relationship in order to limit our over-reliance on property taxes, including but not limited to fully funding the Municipal Services Payment Program. Number 4, continue to implement recommendations in the city's 2022 housing needs assessment and strategy plan, and identify additional opportunities for the city to facilitate development of a range of housing types. And the last goal, pursue a memorandum of understanding between the city and the library board to ensure that city policies and procedures are consistently followed, and to tie library funding to adherence to these policies. And with that, any other comments from either council, or if City Manager Voloff wants to say anything?
I appreciate the support and anxious to hear any other feedback.
Councilmember Stevenson, you got the floor.
Sure. Yeah, I'd just echo everything that Lindsay said, and thanks for doing a good job. And I'd also, for any citizens on the phone call or anything like that, I would really point to these goals. This is really, I think, one of the big things that council does outside the budget is really direct the city manager on what our next year's goals are going to be, and they really reflect our ideologies and where we really want to take this city. So those are definitely some important documents put together for you.
Thank you, Councilmember Stevenson. First, just want to say thank you to Deputy Mayor Erickson for leading us through the exercise and handling this professionally and respectfully. And I thought you did a fantastic job, and just want to express my thank you for leading us through the process. It was very well done. And City Manager Roloff, this is what, number 5 or 6 of these for me with you. I want to say thank you for all the efforts. As Ms. Erickson noted, highly respected leader, not only in this community, but throughout the state. And kind of touching on that, as well as our goals a little bit. For those at home that don't know, over the course of the last couple of years, we've had several bigger picture, longer term goals for the city manager. One of them happened to be working, attempting to work with other leaders throughout the state to work to get the state of Wisconsin to share a little bit more of their revenue that they've been bringing in with the municipalities that do the day-to-day work to run these the cities and towns and counties throughout the state. And not just through his participation, but through his leadership, City of Oshkosh has benefited greatly to the tune of nearly $2 million annually going forward through his efforts. That can't be, I can't speak highly enough of those efforts and that performance. So I just want to say thank you. Job well done. Continue pushing Oshkosh forward, making us a better place to live, work, and play, and happy to have you leading us through that. So thank you very much, and job well done.
Thank you, everybody.
If there's no other comments, we'll take the roll on 2416.
Buelow?
Aye.
Hayes?
Aye.
Esslinger?
Aye.
Erickson?
Aye.
Stevenson?
Aye.
Mughawar?
Aye.
Carried 6.
Resolution 24-17, approved 2024 fee and charges schedule. I'll take a motion in a second.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Seeing none, please take the roll on 24-17.
Buelow?
Aye.
Hayes?
Aye.
Esslinger?
Aye.
Erickson?
Aye.
Stevenson?
Aye.
Mughawar?
Aye.
Carried 6.
Final resolution 24-18, approved general development plan amendment for athletic fields at the Lourdes Academy, located at 250 North Sawyer Street and 1100 Witzel Avenue. Planning Commission recommends approval. Motion and a second, please.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Seeing none, please take the roll.
Buelow?
Aye.
Hayes?
Aye.
Esslinger?
Aye.
Erickson?
Aye.
Stevenson?
Aye.
Mughawar?
Aye.
Carried 6.
That concludes our action items for this evening. We move into council discussion and direction to the city manager, future agenda items. Next up, council discussion and direction to staff regarding public education campaign, regarding proposed vehicle registration fee and utility fees as a replacement of special assessments for street reconstruction projects. Would you like to kick it off? It seems like it.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I put a memo in the council's agenda packet, just briefly giving an overview. And the one thing I really wanted to talk about tonight, in addition to the public education campaign, is just some of the features of this. Because as staff received direction from council, we did additional research, and we got I guess, as formal account as we're going to get in terms of the number of vehicles that are eligible for a vehicle registration fee, and that is $46,772. Doing the math, we're trying to recover about $3.75 million in special assessments that we would no longer collect. $2.25 million of that is through charging each of the respective utilities their share of street restoration costs. And I know some of you already know this, but I just think for everyone viewing, when you take a look at a street, if it was only a street with no utilities, the depth of the street wouldn't be much more than 18 inches to 2 feet because of stone and asphalt or concrete. But sometimes that ditch can be as deep as 20 feet or even more because we need to bury sewer pipe much more. And we need to have separation between sewer and water and storm sewer. So there is a lot of excavation and backfilling that takes place that we don't believe has been sufficiently charged to the utilities. So one of the ways we can reduce the cost of special assessment is charging that to utility. The downside of that is, as council is fully aware, there's a lot of concern about the cost of our utility fees. And that's something we have to keep track of. At the last meeting, we reported that we estimated between 0.25% and 0.5% annually for each of the utilities may be the impact of that $750,000 on an annual basis. So we wanted to be disclosing to that. So after you take that $2.25 million, we got to come up with about $1.5 million. So $1.5 million divided by 46,000 is in the low to mid 30s per vehicle. So we're proposing a $35 per vehicle. That would give us some time for that to absorb some of the inflation before we would have to consider an increase. That would also give us a little more cushion because we are not initiating a fee like that until probably close to mid-year from what Mr. Van Gompel has found from the Department of Transportation. They need a 90-day lead-in. We're expecting that if council approves this, it would be at the end of February, which we don't know if necessarily would start that in June or July. So we're being more conservative about it, assuming it'll be July. And then, so we'll have a little bit of cash flow issue that we'll manage within ourselves, but that $35 is intended to cover costs for a couple of years, and then we can review it again. But it'll be more about the rate of inflation on our street projects, because that's really what we're talking about here. As far as are there any questions about that? Because I don't know if we had necessarily given you a formal number, and that's compared to other vehicle registration fees, it's on the higher end. We do not have a county vehicle registration fee. The highest in the state, city, county combined, is about $65. We're proposing $35, but that's municipal only. The highest municipal rate in the state is about $40. So we're on the higher end, admittedly. So I think it's important that we disclose that, and that's part of the story we need to tell. But I think the fact that we're charging utilities that would also go to non-taxable entities, there's a mixture of the vehicle registration fee, which has its own drawbacks, and council's heard those from me in the past. But the combination that the council's proposed, I think, gives us something that it spreads the responsibility of that to those different groups. I made a presentation this morning to a group of the governmental entities in the chamber that we meet about 5 times a year, answered some questions about that, and they're the ones paying the utility part of it. In fact, some of our largest stormwater utility customers in the city are actually our fellow governmental entities. So they understood it, but they also understand they won't pay a nickel of the vehicle registration fee. So they understand the mixture of how that goes. And that's kind of the story we're going to be talking to different groups. Mr. Clayman from the chamber has invited me to attend a meeting to discuss this with the board of directors of the chamber. And I'm going to reach out to neighborhood associations, get over to the senior center, and service clubs and things like that. If you think there's any other group that might be appropriate for me to reach out to, please let me know. I want to do this throughout the month of January and February so that we get the word out. Andy Radig and Andy with Oshkosh Media, we devoted about 1/3 of my city manager report program to this topic, and we're going to do that for the next few weeks. We've done the city manager minute. We're going to be doing a few of those little tidbits, answering some of the frequently asked questions. And I think I covered most of those with what I just talked about. But we've got a story to tell. We've got some explaining for people to understand. And certainly the effective date of when we're providing special assessment relief is also going to be an issue. And it's going to be for any projects that are initiated after January 1st of '24. So Algoma Boulevard from 2 years ago, Wisconsin Street from this past year, those are still going to be subject to special assessments. And I know that's very difficult for some of those folks, and I certainly understand that. But in order for us to avoid doubling or even tripling the vehicle registration fee to make up for those prior years, this seems to be the most appropriate approach.
Councilmember Buell?
So my only question is, mechanically, how does a person pay the VRF? Like, is it does it come with their tax bill? Does it come with their registration bill?
When you get your card in the mail that says your vehicle registration, there's something that's been in there for years that's never applied to us. It says your vehicle is kept in County of Winnebago, City of Oshkosh.
Okay.
That's why it's there. So it will be conveniently, I'm being a little sarcastic with it, conveniently added to your vehicle registration fee. And that's why it takes 3 months, because you typically get those 2 months in advance. Right. So I think they need to get it into their system and make sure their computer does it correctly so that you get that. So, and for that convenience, the state will take 17 cents from every vehicle registration fee. 17 cents, not dollars, but 17 cents for their processing part of it. So that 35 will actually be $34.83.
Sure.
Councilmember Esslinger?
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Olaf, I did read your analysis, breakdown or whatever. In that, you said that this would include vehicles beneath the weight of 8,000 pounds. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Why would those be the vehicles that would have least effect on the roads versus semis and work trucks and utility vehicles and whatever else? Why would we not charge the people that are doing the most damage and charge the people that are doing the less damage?
You have summarized exactly why I've had concern about that fee, but that's built into the state law. That goes way back when. It's typically been called, as we all have, I'm trying to not use that term, wheel tax. And it was initiated, I believe one of the first ones in the state was Beloit, because they thought they were going to get the kids at Beloit College and get those 4 wheels taken care of. But it was intended to capture that, and college kids aren't driving, semi-trucks, so it was exempted. But I think you're pointing out the very imperfection with the vehicle registration fee. That's why the concern I had about that is that was one of them, but the idea is overlaying the utilities on top of that kind of spreads that, because the vehicle registration fee isn't paid by any tax exempt entity, no church. I mean, churches generate traffic from their church goers, not necessarily the pastor or anything like that. So those people are paying it. But that's been built into the law that created the the vehicle registration fee from back in the 1960s. Russ, you got any more?
Yeah, it's pretty much covered by state statutes. I think it's chapter 345, and that outlines the ability for municipalities to collect a vehicle registration fee locally. There's over 20-some municipalities that have it. When we give you the ordinance, we'll give you some more history on that, and some detail. But the city managers talked about some of the comparables already. But yeah, it's all defined by statute, what we can or cannot have a municipal registration fee associated with.
What about motorcycles?
It's just a motor vehicle registration. It's not motorcycles, I don't believe.
So this would not be for motorcycles at all?
I believe it's just vehicles, just four-wheel vehicles.
We will double check that though for you. I mean, you're not voting on that tonight.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Yeah, that's a great question though.
Well, one other thing, I'm just looking forward, in April, there will be 3 new council members here. And I know that while the majority of this council is in favor of this, what if the next council hopefully those 3 members are not in favor of it. I am not in favor of it, and I don't think the public is in favor of it. But want to shoot this thing as it's going down the runway so it never gets off the ground. What would happen then?
Well, right now, I think staff's following the direction that we were given by this council. It's up to this council to decide if you want to keep special assessments, if you're looking at alternatives to special assessments. We've, I think, brought forward a number of different examples or possibilities how to come up with a solution for funding street reconstruction. I thought that the direction we received, and I don't mean to speak for the city manager, was that this was an alternative that the council felt in favor of. And we are proceeding to present that to you for your consideration. If you don't accept it, that's fine. But then that means special assessments, as we've known it for the last couple of years, will continue.
No, maybe I need to be a little clearer. If this council votes on it, I believe Mr. Roloff, you said that'd be before March, okay? Well, the new council doesn't come till April. If this council votes in favor of this plan here, then in April, the council decides that they want to get rid of it. What implications, if any, would there be on getting rid of that and doing, as Russ said, one of the other proposals, whichever they pick?
I mean, from a practical standpoint, there'd be a $1.5 million shortfall in our budget that the council would need to fill. As Russ said, one of the options is you can go back to special assessments. I would strongly advise any incoming council members that tread carefully on whipsawing the policy decision. I think this council has wrestled with this for quite a long time, and I would not take this responsibility lightly, and I think that's why you've been trying to format it. So it is unusual that we know we're going to have a significant turnover in the council. I'm not aware that this is an issue, and certainly maybe the League of Women Voters is listening, so they should ask this question at the candidate. But once the council makes a decision, we as staff have an obligation to follow through on that and carry it out. And certainly, this has not been taken lightly by any of the council or your predecessors for that matter. We've been bouncing back and forth, and now we're settling in on a solution. To go back on it, I think would be confusing to the public. There are going to be people disagreeing. You even pointed out the imperfection in the vehicle registration fee that I myself hold. But I recognize that trying to forge a solution with the 7 of you, both past and present and future, as you're saying, pick something that you think is going to have some staying power. And that's my advice to you.
So plan is for a road show, it sounds like. As City Manager Roloff indicated, if any of us have some suggestions on groups that would like to hear about this, please pass that over to him. Councilmember Stevenson.
Yeah, I'm just I see the Herald writing some stuff, so I'll get on the horn here. I'm in favor of this. I think we've wrestled with special assessments for the past 2 decades without any real progress at all. While I think there are some imperfections in a vehicle registration fee, there are way more imperfections with special assessments. Any solution we come up with is going to be imperfect. That's the nature of government. We never have a perfect solution that fits everybody's needs, but I think the way that we've spread it out over the vehicle registration and then those the utility fees and then a big portion of it we're borrowing for is really going to give people a good bang for their buck and finally put this issue to rest of special assessments that are completely inequitable for a lot of our folks in the cities and stop people getting hit with these bills that put them out of house and home. So that's what I'll say.
Well put, well put.
We're going to have this as a regular item until your final vote on it.
Something else?
Yeah, if I could just, one more comment about the whole plan and financing tool and mechanism that we've talked about and presented today. We've talked about creating the vehicle registration fee, and the city manager alluded to the potential impact of transferring basically $750,000 from each of our three utilities, water, wastewater, and stormwater, into our road improvement fund. When we did the cash flow for our utilities, as it stands right now, the city council a couple meetings ago approved a rate increase for the wastewater or sanitary sewer. If we are going to transfer $750,000, our cash flow projections state that we should be looking at an additional adjustment. The adjustment for water and stormwater is not anticipated to occur in 2024. I want you to be understanding of the impact on the utilities when you make this decision. But it would require an adjustment in our stormwater rates in 2025. I think it's about 2.5 or 2.25%. I don't have that chart in front of me. And the water is regulated by the Public Service Commission. And when we talked about budgets and cash flow analysis, sometime in 2025, the city will be looking at reviewing its water rates and applying for a potential adjustment through the Public Service Commission for water rates. So just so you understand that there's another financial impact to it, I didn't want you to lose sight of the sanitary sewer, because if we do take some funds out of those utilities, we got to make sure the funds are able to survive financially. And we would have to come back to this council for consideration on a 2024 sanitary sewer rate, probably going into effect around that July 1st timeframe when, or if, a vehicle registration fee is approved by the council. But I just didn't want you to lose sight of that.
Thank you. Councilmember Bulow.
Thank you. Real quick, I'm definitely hearing what Councilmember Esslinger says, and I agree completely with Councilmember Stevenson. But for me, it is imperfect, but a system where everybody uses the roads, everybody pays a little bit more towards those roads instead of them being dumped that whole cost onto the person who owns the property that happens to be in front of that road. I think it makes sense to move forward and continue to move forward with the relief so that we don't see the huge bills that, like Councilmember Stevenson said, do put people out of their homes sometimes. It sucks that everybody has to pay a little bit more, but we have to pay for things, and that's the way, nothing comes free. So as a society, I think this is the best way to fund the roads that we all use, is we all pay a little bit, and I really like the variety of funding for this to make sure that everybody does get captured a little bit for it.
This is maybe off topic. I'm going to say it anyway. We talked last time, Ford brought forward the deferment policy. If you guys looked a little bit more into that, or?
We are actively working on
Okay.
that. In fact, we just met yesterday about doing some additional research. We summarized, and I think we had general agreement that how we summarized it. Councilmember Ford had talked about Madison, Eau Claire. Eau Claire's was close, but not exactly. So what you're going to see from us is probably a twist on what Eau Claire did, but more applicable to how we do things. Okay. And some of the things we were already doing to a certain degree. They go out as far as 20 years on a payment plan. We allow somebody to go from 10 to 15. They allow somebody to go from 10 to 20.
Okay.
15, 20, we can do something like that. But the terms under which we do it are going to be slightly different. So we'll be able to explain that.
Sure.
And Ms. Nyforth was also involved because of the community development block grant programs that we have. And there might be some opportunities to use some of our revolving loan funds that we have for housing that might be able to apply to that as well.
Sure.
So it's like, well, if we're going to do that, we might as well follow those administrative proceedings, because that'll just make it easier to administer as well. So that's giving you a little teaser on that. I don't want to go too far off plan, but you're going to be getting an update on that at the next meeting.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
If there's nothing else on this topic, we'll move on to councilmember announcements and statements. Any announcements or statements?
Nothing on my end.
Sounds good. City Manager Roloff, the rest is yours.
Thank you. In your agenda packet, there are 3 memos regarding cooperative purchases. for some vehicles as well as computers. That's what we typically do for purchasing purposes, follow state bids that are out there to take advantage of those. And then I have outstanding issues. They're a little updated. You're going to see a bigger update because I take all of the annual goals that the council set for me just this evening, and I'll incorporate those. And you'll see that some of the ones that are kind of repeating from one year to the next, I've already referenced those a little bit. And obviously, special assessments is one of those, and we just had a good discussion on that. So we're working on those things. I know that the sanitary district negotiations are still going. There's some final issues that we're still working on with those folks. I'm hoping we don't have to have another closed session, but we might. Depends on how we proceed within the next 30 days. But the non-contractual rates are in effect. We're charging for that, and that will hopefully create an incentive, or a disincentive, I should say, for them to get this done. So happy to answer any questions you might have, although I think Deputy Mayor might point out ARPA. That's another process we're going to be working on, and you'll see more of that in the coming weeks as well. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. With that, we'll take a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.